Right, so let's get going. So what I thought we would do, just check out, oh, I can't see my head. I thought we would work today just with the idea of, it sounds a bit sort of crazy, but within yoga, and especially the way that I practice, it's always this idea that we work towards doing less. So within yoga, there's this idea that, you know, the less effort there is, the more benefit there is to our health, because we live in a world where we are constantly doing. We're constantly being told to achieve or to change, or wondering why this isn't going that way for us, or why they said that. So when we come to work with ourselves, with our body and with our mind in particular, it's with the idea that we're trying, in a sense, to work towards doing less. So the key, or you know, the gateway, sometimes I use the word gateway, to finding that idea of doing less, to finding calm, quiet, relaxation, stillness, silence. The key or the gateway to that is our body, because that's the part that will show us how we're feeling. So when we're angry, you know, we'll tense up, our jaw will tighten up. When we're afraid or we feel unsafe, we have butterflies in our stomach, or anxious or nervous. So our body will often tell us, and will always tell us, not often, will always tell us or show us how we're feeling. But it's just that as we go through life, especially as we get older, we just forget to listen to ourselves. So yoga, and I thought that's how we'd work today, quietly. Yoga brings us to a state of quietness and care really for ourselves, just by slowing down, allowing ourselves to slow down. So if you come to your mat, so we're going to start by standing, and the soles of your feet are just hip width apart. So when I say hip width apart, that just means the outside edges of the hips more or less in line with the outside edges of the knees, more or less in line with the outside edges of the feet. So there's no kind of right or wrong. You know, if you want to be a little bit wide or a little bit closer together, it's fine. So just start by rolling your shoulders. So when you're rolling your shoulders, you're doing far more than just starting to free up the muscles, starting to mobilise the joints. You're starting to grow an awareness of what's happening in your body. So what do you feel? So I can tell you what I feel. I can feel crunching around my shoulders, I can feel tightness in my neck, I can feel tightness in my jaw. So all these things just bring us to a sense of how we're feeling, what's happening now. Circling the shoulders a few times backwards, and then circling the shoulders a few times forward. So you're not trying to do anything particularly, you're just working into growing a sense of awareness. And awareness lies outside of this field of doing. And then just allow the shoulders to settle. Arms resting or hanging either side. Shoulders, if you push the shoulders down, you're going to feel tightness in the neck. So let the shoulders, shrug the shoulders a few times till perhaps you can relieve a little bit of tightness around the neck. Then taking your attention to your right foot, let all the weight of your body sink into the right foot. Now really be aware of what's happening in your knee, what's happening into your hip, and what happens around the side of the waist, the right side of the waist. So you might feel that the hip might have clenched, the buttock muscles might have clenched, and this part, in a sense, might feel as though it's closing, when really we always want to feel that this part can open. So now just rebalance the weight between the feet. Maybe take the hands onto the central spine, round about where your navel or the belly button would be, and just slide the hands a little bit to the side. So this part here, side to the waist, is where we want to feel as though we can grow a little bit or find a little bit of length. So now when you sink down into the left foot, can you do that without sinking that left side of the waist? Can you do that? The left hip will still pop out, might be the wrong word, will still go out a little bit, but can we do that without slouching, without sinking? So now rebalance the weight between the feet, and when we learn to slow down in this way, this is when we start to learn to do less. We can allow the weight to sink down into the right foot, but we're trying not to sink into the side of the waist. The right hip will pop out a little bit, the left hand will start to go a little bit lower than the right hand. So when we carefully trail the left fingertips down towards the left knee, still allowing the weight to sink down into the right foot, you're just starting to go into a side bend, but not with a massive amount of effort. And then just coming back to centre. So rebalance the weight between the feet. Allow your weight to sink into the left foot, but try not to sink down the left side of the waist. Try not to lock the left knee. So can you still soften or move the left knee? The weight can still go down into the left foot because that's what allows you to find stability. The left hip will just kind of go out a little bit because that will allow the right shoulder to drop and the right fingertips to trail towards the outside edge of the right ankle. You can turn your gaze to look down towards the outside edge of the right ankle if it's okay. And then taking your attention to your left arm, just take the left arm out to the side, palms facing down, left palm facing down, then turn your palm up. Be aware of what's happening with your shoulder. And then if it's okay, if your shoulder feels all right, take the left arm up towards the ceiling. Now you're not stretching the left arm up, the weight of the left arm sinks down to the left shoulder. Maybe you can turn the gaze, look up towards the palm. Lower the arm, left arm, and as you do that, you just bring the spine back to centre. So we're going to go again. Make sure you're breathing. We're going to allow the weight to sink down into the right foot, down, 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 down into the right foot. And maybe take the right arm out to the side at first, palm facing down. Now lift the right shoulder up and down a few times. You can, if you like, take the left hand onto the side of that right waist because inside here is where we're going to try to find length. Here is where we find length. So as the left shoulder sinks towards the left hip, really be aware of that length that you're finding in the right side of the body. The right arm might have lifted. Take your left hand onto the left side of the waist. This part here is sinking, it's going concave, but we want to feel it, if we kind of let the hand lightly rest into that curve, as the left shoulder or the left elbow sinks down towards the left ankle, really feel as though that curve of the waist can be accentuated and the gaze can go up towards the ceiling. So kind of a slight bit of pressure into the left side of the waist. Breathe in, feel the breath inside the lungs, and then as you breathe out, let go and come back up to centre. And then just last time on the left side. So we're going to maybe place both hands on the sides of the waist. It's really, this part here is where when we feel stressed or anxious or fearful or whatever we might be feeling, unsafe, you know, with the pandemic, what's going on, we close in on ourselves, and this part here can get really tight, really kind of, you know, abdominal area as well, can get really stressed, I suppose. So by working this part here to allow it to stay wide and open, we change those, or shift that kind of feeling. So we're going to sink down into the left foot, we're going to try to keep the waist wide and open. The right elbow can sink down towards the right, or go down, point down towards the right ankle, and the right hand can just push slightly in towards that right side of the waist, just to get a bit of length, a bit of space. Then only if it feels okay, the left hand can go out to the side and can go up. And think of maybe the left hand moving through space, but also space moving through that left arm. The right side of the body is kind of concave, like curved inwards, so just accentuate that ever so slightly to take the hand a little, left arm over a little bit more. Turn the gaze, look up, breathe in, and as you breathe out, lower the arm. And just come back to stand, just neutral. And just notice for a few moments how you feel. So the beginning of awareness, to build awareness, is to notice. And not noticing what we would like to be, but noticing what we are right now. So notice how the side of the waist feels, notice how the feet feel. And can you balance the weight equally between both feet? If you're sinking into one foot, that's okay. You're noticing, we're not necessarily trying to change anything. And it's been said, John Kabat-Zinn, I think, one of the easiest or most accessible ways to relieve stress is to not try to change anything, is to allow things to be just as they are. So now we're going to place one hand on the collarbone, or collarbones, and the other hand, doesn't matter which hand, the other hand on the back of the waist. And again, you're just going to sink slightly into the right foot and go down to the right side of the body. Just lean over to the right. Come back to centre, sink into the left foot, lean over towards the left. So just feeling that range of movement of the spine. So just moving the spine from side to side. Sinking down into the right foot, sink towards the right. Come to centre, sink down into the left foot, sink towards the left. Come to centre. And now we're going to keep our attention on our feet. You're going to really grip the toes down into the floor, and your spine's going to move forward slightly. So you're going to rock forward. We're going to sink down into the heels, and the spine is going to rock backwards. Like me, you might fall over. So you're just moving forward and back. Into the toes takes you forward, into the heels takes you back. And now we're going to see if we can just balance the weight equally between the toes, the base of the toes, and the heels. Now you're going to take your attention, to your gaze. So there's a part of you that can really be aware of where your gaze is. Now you're looking forward at first. When you look down, be aware that the back of the waist curves in to the hand that's behind it. The collarbones draw in and the spine starts to go into a forward bend. If you soften the knees, send the knees forward a little bit, that takes the weight more into the toes. So you start to go into a forward bend, softly, quietly. Take the gaze forward, so you come up, bring the spine up. Now when you take your gaze softly, quietly up towards the ceiling, the collarbones lift, or the chest will lift, and there's more of a concave or an extension in the back of the waist. So you go into a small back bend without trying. Then you take the gaze forward, you take the gaze down. Be aware of what's happening in the back of your waist. The hand that's at the back of the waist starts to round, the hand that's around the collarbone starts to draw in. So you go into a forward bend or flexion kind of movement. Soften the knees. It takes the weight more into the toes because you're going to go forward. Allow the crown of the head and allow the neck to go. Now you take the gaze forward. Allow that to lift the spine. And as you take the gaze up, the hand at the back of the waist, or the back of the waist, starts to indent, becomes more concave, so you start to go into a back bend. The gaze goes up towards the ceiling if it's okay with your neck. You don't have to do any more than that. The knees can still travel forward, but this time you feel the weight go into the heels. Relax your shoulders. You go into a slight back bend and then come back to centre. So you kind of work with full range of movement of the spine, side bends, forward bends, back bends, without trying too much. And then when we go into a rotation, we're just going to softly soften the knees, and you're just going to rock the hips from side to side. Just rock the hips. You can place the hands on the hips actually. Just kind of rock the hips. Turn the hips, whatever that means to you. Your knees are quite bent, so the fourth range of the spine is the rotations. So if you kind of rock that, let the hands loosely swing from side to side, you might start to feel the upper part of the spine just start to free up a little bit. So you do all these kind of things without kind of trying too much, and then just come back to centre and stop. So stop. So when we stop is when true space or stillness or silence starts to arise. So you feel the sensations in the fingertips. So the hands resting down by your sides, arms just as free as possible. You feel the sensations in the fingertips. You feel the sensations in the toes, in the heels, in the base of the toes, and the toes themselves. And then we're going to ever so quietly, we're going to go into a forward bend. So we're going to take the hands on the back of the waist. And a forward bend, sometimes it's seen as a closing, quietening sort of position. But I mean, all the positions in the end start to feel the same, because even though we're going forward, so you might feel as though you're closing the front of your body, you're opening the back. So you start to look at things in a different way. So you soften the knees and you allow the weight to move into the toes because you know you're going forward. Your gaze is on the floor, maybe just in front of you, because you know the spine wants to go forward. So when you allow the shoulders to round, the chin to draw in, the knees to soften. Now let them really be aware that the back of the waist is rounding and you're breathing just as you do. Breathe just as you do. Feel the weight rest down into the feet, particularly the front parts of the feet. Allow the crown of the head to go, the knees can soften. Let your hands come to rest on your knees. And if it's okay, you can move one knee forward and then the other knee. So you just start to rock. So there's nowhere is it written that you have to be really still. Our bodies aren't meant to be still or to be caged. We don't like to feel contained, do we? And then just allow both knees to be quite soft. Now just imagine underneath your hands, you're sending your knees forward. The knees can be quite soft. Then maybe the fingertips might just touch the floor. The knees can be quite soft. Let go of the neck. The crown of the head points down towards the floor. Move your jaw, so really let go of the upper part of your spine. Move the shoulders, move the shoulders, move the shoulders. Maybe walk your hands a little bit further forward. If this is no good for you, you can have the hands on a chair or against the wall. Maybe walk the hands a little bit further forward. See if the palms come down. Lift up one heel at a time. And then just see, is there a possibility of walking the hands back? You're not trying to get your chest on your thighs. We're trying to make as much space in the front of our body as there is in the back. So being aware, as the chin draws in and then the back of the neck lengthens, be aware of the weight of your head. Feel the sensations underneath the feet, connection to the ground. Knowing that connection to the ground beneath you connects you to everybody else, or everybody else in the world. And ever so carefully walking your hands forward till your heels come off the floor, your knees come down. So you come into all fours. You can hear growling, that's my dog. Alright, so if, he's only a little dog, he's not. Right, so if you come into all fours, so lift up one knee at a time, lift up one hand at a time. So you're just feeling the connection beneath. If you push into the hands and if you push into your knees, you're going to sink, you're going to feel the muscles tense up and there'll be a sinking kind of feeling. So now stop sinking, stop pushing and draw up between the shoulder blades, draw up at the back of the waist. So you're doing, these kind of things you're doing, you're rounding the spine, you're doing this, you can feel it, you're actively, consciously rounding your spine. And then sink. Sink between the shoulder blades, sink at the back of the waist, and you're doing it. You're actively, consciously changing the position of your spine. And then just one more time, round the spine. And then sink. And now just see, is there a possibility of just being neutral? So you can lift up one hand at a time. You can lift up one knee at a time. The fronts of the feet are flat to the floor, and just allow yourself, give yourself permission in a sense, in this position, to do nothing. So can you equalize the weight between the right wrist and the left wrist, the insides of the wrist, the outside of the wrists, the tips of the fingers? Can you feel the weight of the knees, the insides of the knees, the outside of the kneecap? The connection of the feet on the floor, fronts of the feet, maybe each toe. So now when you feel your breath coming in, what's happening inside your spine? And when you feel your breath leaving, what's happening inside your body? So just tune into your breath and know that you don't have to do that breath. When we come to a state of doing less, it means we start to practice and work with states in our body that are happening anyway. So we start to change things a little bit less. And when we do that, so sort of subtler shifts start to take place. Now we're going to start to move. We're going to move ever so carefully, and you're going to continue to breathe just as you do. You're just going to imagine the crown of the head, the very top of the spine, beyond the spine, and then the tailbone, the very base of the spine, beyond the spine. And then you're going to send the crown of the head forward a little bit past the fingertips. And you're going to bring the tailbone back a little bit towards the heels. So you're not trying to do a big movement. You're not trying to go any further than anybody else. You're just feeling into what's happening. So as you start to move your spine forward and back, what's happening in your wrists? As you start to feel or move the spine forward and back, how do your knees feel? How do your ankles feel? And just moving forward, maybe a little bit further forward, if it feels okay for you. So you start to learn what feels right for you, what feels okay. Maybe take the hips a little bit further back towards the heels. So you start to have an awareness, grow an awareness of the sensations that occur in your body, because that's what brings you to here and to now. And when you're in the present moment, fears and worries and problems, and that idea of what we're supposed to have done before or what we might have to do later, all those things just dissipate slightly, simply because we can't really go to the past. We don't take our clothes off backwards, do we, or anything like that. The past is just in our head. The future is just in our head. Our body is here and now. So when you take your body forward and when you take it back, know that you don't have to do very much at all to feel sensation, to be here, to mobilise. Because when your mind rests, your body will relax, I suppose. So when you're ready, if it's okay, ease your hips back towards your heels and just allow the weight of your body to settle, settle. Bring the elbows down, make light fist with the hand to support the head, And just allow the weight of your head to be given, because heads are so heavy. Now if it's okay, maybe take one fist away and the forehead will rest on one hand. Maybe take that hand away and the forehead will rest on the floor. You can, if you like, take the hands onto the back of your head. If you don't need to put your head on your hands. And just allow the weight of the head to feel even heavier, because it can't really feel heavier. All we're trying to do is find a sensation, a feeling. And be aware of your breath as it comes in, and aware of your breath as it leaves. And even if what you're feeling isn't that comfortable or that pleasant, notice, and then come up into all fours, and then turn. And when I say things like that, if it's not pleasant, notice. The benefits of doing that is that we learn to accept things that we don't necessarily like. Because as humans, as people, we're all the same. We go to things that we enjoy. When we start to accept things that we don't like, life becomes a bit easier. So when we're ready, we're going to come onto our back, and we're just going to ease the knees in towards us. Lightly place the hands underneath your knees and just cross your ankles. And whatever ankle you put on top, just change it, because we always have a habit, and we can start to just change habits ever so carefully, I suppose. And then just rock from side to side. And we get stuck in habits and patterns. And just by changing small things, little things, by increments, we just change the neural pathways in our body. And then just come to centre. Keep both hands underneath the right knee and just ease the right knee down. Circle the right ankle a few times one way and then the other way. And then keeping the right knee quite close, just send the right foot up towards the ceiling. Right, so just see if you can draw the heel, push the heel up, draw the toes down, point the toes away. So just kind of mobilising the leg, that's all a little bit. And then just see if the hands can go a little bit higher. And just ease the leg down a little bit more. Draw your chin slightly down. And then let go. Keep the right foot off the floor, knees bent. Take the hands underneath the left knee. Ease the left knee down. Circle, so the left sole of the foot comes up towards the ceiling. Draw the toes towards you. Push the heel away. Just doing that a few times. Just mobilising the ankle, because we've been standing for a while. And then just circle the ankle again. And then just maybe take the hands a little bit higher if that's possible. The hands can go just above the knee or below the knee, or wherever they go, and just ease the leg a little bit lower. So just feel, if you draw the toes towards you, you're going to increase that feeling of stretch or length in the hamstrings, stretch in the back of the knee. So it's a doing, and it's nice to stretch sometimes. And then stop. And then just bring both feet back on the floor. Hands can rest on the base of the ribs if that's okay. And then just allow your knees to drop to the right. Just starting just to twist a little bit through the pelvis. And then bring the knees back up and drop your knees to the left. Right, so now we're going to breathe in, draw the knees up. As you breathe out, drop the knees to the right. So you're controlling the breath, you're controlling the movement of the legs. The in-breath draws the knees back up. You might feel the belly kind of start to work as well. The out-breath lets the knees drop. The in-breath, you draw the knees back up. The out-breath, the knees go to the right. So just kind of have that sense of connection to what's going on in your body, because at first we have to complicate things in order to find that awareness or grow the awareness. Then the next time you draw the knees back up, you stop. Feet just resting on the floor, and you breathe just as you do. And now we're going to draw the knees in towards us again. You can cross the ankles if you like, maybe the opposite ankle on top. Hands can rest on the knees. Just lift the shoulders up and down a few times. Roll your head from side to side. If that feels kind of, you can do that okay. If your neck is all right. If you need to put anything underneath your head or make yourself comfortable in any way, then that's what you do. Bring the head back to centre, take the arms up towards the ceiling. And then just cross the elbows. So the right hand rests on the right elbow, left hand on the left elbow. And then just push the elbows down to find a bit of connection down into the shoulders. And then stop pushing. Now the shoulders stay just as they are. The elbows stay above. The weight of the elbows rests down into the shoulders. You can move your jaw, you can soften the eyes, you can close your eyes if you like, and then you leave your shoulders alone. Be aware of how the right shoulder feels, how the left shoulder feels. Now you leave the shoulders alone as you allow the knees just to drift slightly towards the left, but you leave the shoulders alone. Then bring the knees back to centre, allow the knees to drift to the right, but you leave the shoulders alone. So you have awareness of the separation between the lower half of the spine and the upper half. And just rocking the knees from side to side. They don't have to go very far, but you're just leaving the shoulders alone. They will move, you're going to feel different sensations, but you're trying not to. So try not to change them, consciously change them. As the knees go to the right, try to keep the left shoulder in particular just as it is. And the knees might go a little bit further each time. So you're just testing the water or testing your boundaries. But you're not going where you think you should go, you're just going where your body allows you to go. So you're finding what you're capable of. And it's often a lot more than you think you are, that you think you can do, when you don't have to force. And as the knees go to the left, the right shoulder stays just as it is. And then if it's okay, take your arms wide as the knees come to centre, palms facing up. So really having a sense of space around the arms and the shoulders, because this position, with the arms as wide as you can, more or less in line with the collarbones, palms facing up, this position really allows the back of the shoulders to settle into the floor. And now as the knees go to the left, you can turn your head to the left if it's okay. And if it's all right with you, you can extend that right foot forward to tap or touch the left fingers. If it touches, or it might not, and then you just roll back to centre. And as you roll over towards the right, the shoulders stay just as they are, and you can extend the left foot forward to touch the right hand. I couldn't think what hand it is. So your gaze goes towards the right as well. So come back to centre. So as the knees go to the left, the gaze turns to the left, and maybe the right foot taps the left finger. So you extend that top leg, and then you roll back, maybe once or twice more. As the knees go to the right, the gaze goes to the right, you extend the left foot forward to tap the right hand, or just see where you are. The easier it is for you, the slower you go. You don't have to extend the leg, you don't have to go very far at all. If you'd rather go back to where we were before, then that's what you do. So you just find a way of moving where you feel as comfortable and quiet and rested as possible. And then just coming back to centre when you're ready, place your feet back on the floor and the knees are bent, and if it's okay, keep your arms wide. Just the last couple of minutes, keep your arms wide. And just for a few moments, just feel your body just as it is, truly stopped, truly still, silenced and rested. So when you breathe in, where do you feel your breath? And you're not trying to change it. And when you breathe out, where do you feel your breath? And just carefully taking your attention to the connection of your body with the floor, the back of your head and its weight, the back of the shoulders, and the connection, the ribs, the back of the ribs and the waist. And that whole sense of feeling stable, rested, given to the floor, your hips, parts of the feet. And just for a few moments, just acknowledge to yourself that you don't have to do anything else but surrender and give your weight to the floor. Your breath comes and goes. Everything around you just comes and goes and will continue to do so. But you've just decided and chosen to rest, just for a few moments. And be with yourself, by yourself. And when you're ready, just carefully opening your eyes and just seeing what's above you. And your gaze is soft. Your gaze is soft. And you know where you are. and you can decide to stay here for a little bit longer, or you can come over onto your side, whichever side feels good for you. Resting there for a few moments, so taking your time, making sure that you keep that awareness of what feels nice for you, what feels all right for you to work with. And only when you're ready, just coming to sit up and join the rest of the day.